Welcome, gents. Have you ever looked around and wondered why no one else seems to notice what's really going on? Like you can see beneath the surface of people, situations, even silence, but everyone else just smiles and moves on? If that sounds like you, there's a reason. You don't just see the world, you read it. And that can be a dangerous gift. Sigma males don't think like most people. They notice patterns others ignore. They pick up on energy that most would call nothing. They question things that everyone else accepts without blinking, and because of that, they often find themselves stuck between two worlds, one that's asleep and one that's far too awake. This isn't some trend. This is what happens when your mind refuses to settle for easy answers. It's the price of clarity, the risk of independence, the loneliness of knowing too much. People won't always understand you. In fact, they may push you away, call you too intense, too quiet, too distant, when in reality you're just focused on things they haven't even thought about. But here's the truth. Your vision is not a flaw, it's a weapon, a mirror, a map. You weren't made to blend in. You were built to stand alone because you see what others don't. And while that comes with isolation, it also gives you something powerful: freedom. So if you've ever felt like an outsider, it's not because you're broken, it's because you're awake. Stay that way. Let's get started, gents. Number 1, clarity is a curse when surrounded by the blind. Have you ever tried telling someone the truth they weren't ready to hear? Maybe you pointed out that a friend's relationship was toxic, or you saw through a fake smile at work and said something about it. What happened next? You probably got silence, a defensive look, or maybe they even turned on you. That's what happens when you can see what others choose to ignore. Sigma males live in this space every day. They notice things that others pretend not to. The moment they walk into a conversation, they can already sense when someone's lying to themselves. They pick up on the tension that no one is talking about. They can tell when someone is trying too hard to impress, or when someone is quietly hiding resentment behind politeness. But here's the catch. Most people don't want to be seen that clearly. They want surface-level comfort, not raw truth. So when a Sigma speaks up or acts based on what he knows, he becomes the problem. People start saying he's cold or difficult, not because he did something wrong, but because his clarity makes everyone else uncomfortable. It's like being the only one with glasses in a room full of blurry vision. You're describing things clearly, but no one believes you because they can't see it themselves. They don't want to admit the picture they've been trusting is distorted. Imagine being at a family dinner where everyone's pretending everything is fine, but you can feel the emotional distance. You know what's being left unsaid. You're not guessing, you're seeing. And when you point it out, they act like you brought the tension, when really you just refuse to pretend. That's the curse of clarity. It creates space between you and others. But it also sets you free. You don't live in denial. You live in truth. And that's not a weakness. It's a rare kind of strength that most people will never have. Number 2, people call it paranoia. When you're just early. Have you ever warned someone about a situation before it happened, only for them to brush it off like you were overreacting? Then weeks or months later, exactly what you predicted plays out. But by that time, they've either forgotten what you said or pretend they never doubted you in the first place. That's the life of someone who sees things early. And Sigma males live in that space almost every day. When a Sigma points out a red flag in someone's behavior, people call him negative. When he questions a decision everyone's cheering for, they say he's just afraid of change. But what they don't realize is that he's not being paranoid, he's being precise. He's connecting dots that others don't even notice exist. Let's say there's a new person at work. Everyone's excited. They say all the right things, play nice with the boss, and seem like a team player. But the Sigma picks up on something subtle, a look, a tone, a pattern in how they speak about others. He senses something off and says, "Watch this person." Most people laugh it off, but fast forward a few months and that same person is behind a wave of office drama or backstabbing. The same thing happens in friendships, business deals, and even with trends. When Sigma males speak up too early, they often get labeled as difficult or overly suspicious, but they are not guessing. They are observing, analyzing, and reading between the lines before most people even know a line exists. The truth is, society prefers people who go with the flow. Someone who sees too much too early makes others uncomfortable. It shakes the illusion. So they mock it, they call it paranoia. But the Sigma is not paranoid, he's just early. And when the truth finally catches up with everyone else, the Sigma is already 3 steps ahead, walking quietly through the storm he saw coming long before anyone else heard the thunder. Number 3, they see through people, not just around them. You ever had someone smile at you, but deep down you knew something felt off? Most people would shrug it off and keep going, but not a Sigma male. He doesn't stop at the smile. He pays attention to the timing of it, the way the eyes don't match, and how the tone slightly shifts when certain names come up. He catches what most people miss because he's not just listening, he's decoding. Sigma males don't rely on the surface to understand people. They look at the way someone reacts when they're not the center of attention. They pay attention to what's not being said and the spaces between words, while others are focused on charm and charisma. The Sigma is watching the cracks, and once he sees the truth behind the mask, it's hard for him to unsee it. Let's say someone is trying too hard to be likable in a group. Everyone is laughing, nodding, engaging, but the Sigma is watching their body language, the way they dominate the conversation, the subtle jabs disguised as jokes, the nervous tapping under the table. Everyone else is entertained, but the Sigma sees a hidden agenda. He already knows this person's about control, not connection. This is why people often feel exposed around him. It is not that he says anything out loud. He rarely needs to. Just the feeling of being seen that clearly makes people nervous. That awareness can feel like pressure, even if the Sigma is quiet. He knows when you're lying to yourself. He notices when your words and actions don't match. And because of that, some people avoid him entirely. But this isn't about being judgmental. It is about seeing reality as it is, not how someone wants it to look. Sigma males don't look away just because the truth is uncomfortable, and that's exactly why they don't just look around people. They see right through them. Number 4, their insight threatens control systems. You ever wonder why some people who barely speak still make others uncomfortable? Not because they're loud or disruptive, but because they don't fall in line. They don't nod when everyone else is nodding. They don't join in just because it's popular. That's the Sigma male. His quiet refusal to play by the rules makes him a problem in places that rely on control. Most systems in life, schools, workplaces, even friend groups, run on unspoken rules. Follow the script. Don't question the process. Smile at the right times. Laugh when expected. Now here comes the Sigma, watching everything, questioning everything, and refusing to play along just for acceptance. He doesn't rebel for attention. He just sees too clearly to pretend. In a workplace, for example, he's the one who sees through office politics. While others are trying to impress the manager or climb a fake ladder, the Sigma already knows who's pulling the real strings. In a classroom, he's the kid who asks a question that makes the teacher pause and rethink the lesson plan. That awareness, that quiet refusal to be molded, it shakes the foundation. Systems don't attack people like this directly. Instead, they isolate them. They label them difficult, uncooperative, or antisocial. Not because they're wrong, but because they can't be controlled. That makes them dangerous. Not loud, not aggressive, just unshakably independent. And it's not about being smarter than everyone else. It's about seeing the mechanics behind the curtain and choosing not to be a puppet. While others are focused on fitting in, the Sigma is focused on truth. And systems that depend on blind loyalty will always try to silence or sideline someone who sees too much. But here's the thing. You can't control what you don't understand. And the Sigma, he's built in a way that control systems were never designed to handle. Number 5, they don't just hear words, they decode intent. Have you ever had a conversation where something just felt off? The words sounded nice, polite even, but something underneath made you pause. That's the kind of moment Sigma males pick up on right away. While most people just listen to what's being said, the Sigma is tuned in to what's not being said, the pauses, the hesitation, the slip in tone, the slight shift in body language. To him, words are just the surface. What he's really interested in is the motive behind them. This goes far beyond being a good listener. Sigma males decode. You could be complimenting them with a smile, and they'll still catch that tiny trace of sarcasm in your tone. You might say you're fine, but they hear the disappointment sitting behind your voice. And if someone's pretending to be supportive, they'll notice how their eyes keep checking the room or how their posture turns away. The words might say yes, but everything else says no. In real life, this shows up everywhere. Let's say a manager praises someone's work, but the timing feels strange. The Sigma pays attention to why that praise came right after a mistake was pointed out. He knows the compliment isn't real support, it's damage control. Or imagine someone asking about your day, but they're glancing at their phone the whole time. The Sigma notices, he always does. It's not about being suspicious, it's about paying close attention. And the truth is, this level of awareness can be exhausting. It's like walking through life with the volume turned up on things no one else even hears. While others are lost in small talk, Sigmas are picking up unspoken tension, hidden motives, and emotional shifts most people overlook. This isn't a superpower, it's a burden, but it also means Sigma males rarely get fooled, not because they're lucky, but because they've learned to listen with more than just their ears. Number 6. They can't unsee what they've seen. Have you ever found out the truth about something or someone, and afterward everything just looked different? You couldn't go back to how things were, no matter how much you wanted to. That's exactly what it's like for Sigma males. Once they see the truth, there is no unseeing it, no pretending, no rewinding the tape. Sigma males notice what others miss. Maybe it's a friend's true motive, a system that's built more on control than fairness, or a relationship that looks solid on the outside but is quietly breaking underneath. Once the Sigma picks up on what's really happening, his mind holds on to it like a permanent snapshot. And from that moment on, the way he views that person or situation changes completely. Let's say someone he trusts slips up and shows a side of themselves that reveals dishonesty or hidden envy. The Sigma doesn't argue, he doesn't explode, but that image stays. He can forgive, but he won't forget. Because now he knows the mask came off, even if just for a second, and that second was enough. Or maybe he starts to see how an institution, like a workplace or an organization, runs on rules that benefit only a select few while pretending to support everyone. He doesn't just move on like nothing happened. That truth starts changing how he interacts with the system. He becomes more careful, more selective, less willing to give his energy to something he no longer respects. This isn't bitterness, it's awareness. Once you see what's really going on, going back to how you used to think feels like lying to yourself. And Sigma males don't live in illusions. They carry truth like a quiet weight, not because they want to, but because their mind refuses to ignore what it already knows. That's the cost of clear vision. You lose the comfort of ignorance, but you gain the power of never being fooled the same way again. Number 7. They can tell when power is masked as morality. You ever hear someone say, "It's for your own good," and instantly feel like something's off? Maybe it was a boss forcing a policy that clearly favored management, or a friend giving advice that sounded helpful but carried a controlling undertone. Most people hear those words and accept them. Sigma males don't. They pause. They look deeper. And more often than not, they see what others refuse to admit. Control hiding behind kindness, power disguised as morality. This shows up everywhere. A company pushes a new rule and says it's for team unity, but the Sigma notices it actually limits individual freedom. A social group decides who's acceptable and who's not, all in the name of protecting the vibe, but really it's about keeping certain people in control. The words sound noble, the packaging looks good, but the Sigma sees through it like glass. Even in everyday life, this pattern is hard to miss once you notice it. Someone says, "I'm just trying to help you," but it's clear they're only trying to steer you in a direction that benefits them. Or a person claims they're standing up for a cause, but somehow they always seem to gain more influence or attention every time they speak up. Sigma males catch this instantly. They're not swayed by emotional appeals or polished speeches. They look at outcomes, they track who benefits. And when the pieces don't line up, they don't just go along to keep the peace. This makes people uncomfortable, not because the Sigma is loud, but because he sees the parts they hope no one notices. He sees when morality is being used as a tool, not a truth. That kind of insight makes him hard to fool, hard to lead, and impossible to control. And in a world that depends on people following without question, that makes him dangerous, for all the right reasons. Number 8, they're unsettling without saying a word. Have you ever been in a room where everyone's trying a little too hard to impress each other? Fake laughter, forced compliments, people agreeing just to avoid standing out. Now imagine someone walks in, sits quietly and doesn't say much, but suddenly the energy shifts. That's the effect a Sigma male has, even without opening his mouth. It's not about attitude, it's about presence. Sigma males carry this quiet awareness that makes people second-guess themselves. They don't interrupt, They don't try to take over the conversation. But the way they observe, the way they stay calm and unreadable, it makes others uncomfortable, especially in spaces built on pretending. In group settings, most people follow the same rhythm. Say what's expected, avoid conflict, blend in. But the Sigma just doesn't play that game. He listens, watches, and sees through the performance. And that's exactly what makes him unsettling. People start asking themselves, what does he know, or why isn't he reacting like the rest of us? Take a meeting, for example. Everyone's nodding along with a bad idea because no one wants to speak up. The Sigma doesn't roll his eyes or sigh. He just sits there, focused, silent. That silence makes people nervous. It's not defiance. It's awareness. It's the unspoken message that he's not fooled by what's happening. And it happens in social circles too. At a gathering, people might be showing off or gossiping, trying to impress or gain approval. The Sigma stays still. He observes. And suddenly the spotlight feels harsh. The pretending starts to crack. This is why Sigma males are often misunderstood. They don't come in loud, but their very presence challenges the comfort of groupthink. They bring reality into rooms filled with illusions, not by speaking, but by not needing to. And when you don't play the game, people don't know how to handle you. So they get uncomfortable, because silence, when backed by awareness, can be louder than anything else. Number 9, they know what's coming before it arrives. Ever had that strange feeling that something was about to go wrong before there was any real sign of it? You couldn't explain it, but you just knew. That's not luck or paranoia. For Sigma males, that's a normal day. They don't guess, they observe. They pay attention to the little things most people overlook, and they trust what their instincts are quietly picking up on. While others are focused on the noise, the Sigma watches patterns. He notices when someone suddenly changes their tone. He tracks how the vibe in a room shifts over time. He picks up on what's being repeated too often or what's being completely avoided. And because he stays detached, he can see what's happening without being emotionally tangled in it. Let's say a friend keeps saying everything's fine, but their behavior shifts. Less eye contact, shorter replies, a nervous smile that wasn't there before. Most people would ignore it. The Sigma sees the storm building. Or maybe in a workplace, everyone's excited about a new manager, but the Sigma notices subtle changes. New policies, odd phrasing in meetings, quiet power grabs. He already knows what's coming. The fallout is just delayed. This foresight makes others uncomfortable. Not because the Sigma is wrong, but because no one likes having their illusion questioned. Most people want to believe that things are stable, that what they see on the surface is all there is. The Sigma's quiet insight shatters that comfort, and when he speaks up, people often push back. They call him negative or say he's overthinking. But when the outcome finally shows up, the betrayal, the collapse, the shift, he's already adjusted. He's already made peace with what's next. That's the power of seeing ahead. It's not magic, it's awareness. And while most are caught off guard by what life throws at them, the Sigma is already one step ahead, calmly watching the wave long before it crashes. Number 10, they intimidate those who lead through deception. There's a certain type of person who thrives on control. They build their image on charm, power moves, and polished words. They don't lead by example, they lead by illusion. These are the people who expect others to follow without question, to stay impressed, to fall in line. And then a Sigma male walks in, quiet, unreadable, unimpressed, and the whole game starts to fall apart. You see, Sigma males can't be controlled the way most people can. You can't win them over with status or compliments. You can't guilt-trip them into compliance. And you definitely can't manipulate them with flattery or fear. That makes them dangerous to anyone who depends on deception to stay in charge. Let's say a boss gives out praise every time someone obeys without question. Most employees eat it up, but the Sigma, he nods, stays calm, and keeps doing what's right, not what earns points. Or imagine a social leader who's used to controlling the room by talking the loudest or pretending to be the moral compass. The Sigma isn't moved. He watches. He sees through the performance, and suddenly that leader doesn't feel so in control anymore. It's not that the Sigma is trying to challenge anyone, it's just that his presence alone forces people to confront the truth. Fake leaders can't handle that. They rely on being admired, not being questioned, and when they meet someone who can't be easily swayed, they either try to push him out or quietly resent him. What really threatens these kinds of people is the Sigma's independence. His silence makes noise. His honesty cuts through the act. He doesn't play politics. He doesn't join cliques. He doesn't need to. And when someone can't be fooled, they can't be used. That's why the Sigma male is feared by those who manipulate, because he's the one person in the room who sees everything and refuses to play along. Number 11, they become the mirror people want to smash. Have you ever been around someone who didn't say much, yet made you feel like you had something to hide? Not because they were judging you, but because their silence made you aware of your own. That's what Sigma males do. Without even trying, they become a mirror. And not the flattering kind, the kind that reflects things most people spend their lives avoiding. People walk around wearing emotional armor. They bury their fears under loud opinions, their emptiness under fake confidence, and their insecurities behind jokes and distractions. It works until they come across someone who doesn't play along. The Sigma doesn't cover himself in noise. He's honest, grounded, and doesn't need to perform. And just by being that way, he reveals the contrast in others. Let's say someone walks into a room full of people who are busy showing off. Everyone's trying to prove they matter. The Sigma doesn't engage. He just watches quietly. And suddenly someone who's usually full of confidence starts getting irritated, not because the Sigma said anything, but because he didn't need to do what everyone else was doing. That calm presence forces people to face the question they've been avoiding. Why do I feel the need to be seen so badly? This is why Sigma males often trigger resentment without saying a word. They make people feel exposed. They stir up the emotions others work hard to bury. Fear of not being enough, discomfort with silence, the truth of their own distractions. The Sigma doesn't call it out. He doesn't criticize. He just reflects it by being the opposite of it. And when people are faced with a version of themselves they don't want to confront, they lash out. Not at the truth, but at the one who revealed it. The Sigma becomes the mirror they want to smash. But here's the thing. The mirror never attacks, it simply shows. And the truth it reflects, that's what most people are really trying to run from. Number 12. They recognize that being awake can't be reversed. Have you ever had a moment where the mask fell off the world for a second and nothing felt the same after that? That's the kind of moment Sigma males live with all the time. Once their eyes open to how people really behave, how manipulation hides behind politeness, and how systems are designed to keep people in line, they can't shut it out. They don't get to unlearn what they now understand. It's like tasting bitterness in something you thought was sweet. You might smile through it, but you'll never forget the taste. Sigma males carry that awareness with them every day. While others might stay comfortable by ignoring red flags or pretending things are fine, Sigmas see right through it. And once they've seen enough, there's no going back to small talk and pretending everything is all right. Take friendships, for example. Most people are happy with surface-level connections. They share laughs, swap stories, and avoid anything too real. But when a Sigma starts noticing subtle competition, quiet resentment, or emotional manipulation, the friendship shifts. He might still show up, but it's not the same. The connection is broken, not because of drama, but because he now sees it for what it is, and that's where the discomfort begins. Not in the people or the places, but in the constant awareness. He notices how fake encouragement is often used to control. He picks up on how some leaders use guilt to keep others in check. And even though it's easier to play along, he doesn't, he can't. Being awake is not some cool title to wear. It's heavy, it isolates, but it's also powerful. Because once a Sigma male sees the truth behind the curtain, he stops being controlled by illusions. He's no longer asleep in a world full of masks. He walks forward, not comfortable, but wide awake, and that's a different kind of strength. In final words, what do you do when your mind sees everything too clearly, but the world around you prefers the blur? When you pick up on things people avoid, when you sense what's coming before it arrives, when you catch the truth hiding behind polite smiles, do you stay quiet or do you speak? For Sigma males, this is a daily reality. They notice the lies people live in. They feel the pressure in rooms where no one speaks the truth. They sense the motives behind the praise, the fear behind the control, and the weakness behind the ego. And because they don't play along, they often end up on the outside. Not because they failed to connect, but because they refuse to pretend. But here's something you need to remember. Your insight is not a curse. It's rare. It's sharp. It's exactly what this world needs more of. You were not meant to follow blindly or blend into places that ask you to be less than who you are. Your ability to see clearly may separate you from the crowd, but it also protects you from being used, lied to, or controlled. Yes, there's a cost to this clarity. You may be misunderstood, you may walk alone, but you are not lost. You are simply ahead, so trust your instincts, hold your ground, and never apologize for seeing what others don't. Because in a world full of noise, the ones who see clearly are the ones who eventually lead. Quietly, powerfully, unshaken. Thank you for watching, gents, and God bless you.